Liberal leadership contender Mark Carney says he has what it takes to go toe-to-toe with U.S. President Donald Trump.
Why am I here now? Because we're in a crisis. This, for better or worse, my career, my experience prepares me for this moment.
Speaking to CBC News for the first time in this leadership race, Carney pitched himself as a steady hand who can help save the country from economic ruin.
We can't control President Trump, but we can control what we do here at home to reinforce our economy.
The former central banker is promising to build new east-west pipelines, dismantle provincial trade barriers, and lower taxes if elected. Policies echoing those of Pierre Poilievre.
The unjustified threats of tariffs and 51st statehood of Donald Trump have united our people to defend the country we love.
Poilievre is now calling out Trump and shifting his campaign rhetoric from strictly denouncing the Liberals.
Everything feels broken in Canada.
To promoting the country at a Flag Day rally as it stares down an American adversary.
We will bear any burden and pay any price to protect the sovereignty and independence of our country.
Outside the political arena, mounting U.S.-Canada tensions on display during a high-stakes hockey game.
We're going to drop the gloves right away.
As Trump's threats hit a nerve.
I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
What some initially thought was a joke, now taken seriously.
I don't believe the administration is our friends.
After meeting with one of Trump's senior advisors this week, Canada's premiers were told take what Trump says at face value. That left some of them shaken.
I came away from the week knowing this administration wants to turn the U.S. government's approach on everything upside down.
They delivered the message that he is not joking when he says the 51st state.
Polls show a tightening federal race in the wake of Trump's threats. The Liberals are inching up after being on the back foot for months. Poilievre hopes talk of putting Canada first will keep him and his party first among voters.
And we have some indications today on where the Liberal leadership race stands.
Yeah, the Carney campaign tells us he's hauled in nearly $2 million since this race kicked off last month. It's an impressive figure that's similar to what Poilievre fundraised at this stage of his leadership campaign. Carney's two main opponents, Chrystia Freeland and Karina Gould, haven't said how much money they have on hand, but sources tell CBC News they do have enough money to pay the final entrance fee and stay in the race. Ian?
JP Tasker in Ottawa. Let's go to CBC News Chief Political Correspondent Rosemary Barton. And Rosie, during your talk with Carney, you got more insight into his plans and his motivation.
Yeah, Ian, Carney did flesh out a bit more some of his policies, but really the most surprising revelation was when I asked Carney why he was entering politics right now, given that he's flirted with this idea for many years. He then disclosed that in 2012, when he was governor of the Bank of Canada, he was approached by then Prime Minister Stephen Harper to become finance minister. Carney said it wasn't appropriate to go from the central bank into politics directly. Harper's former director of communications responded to this by saying Carney's not telling the whole story and that Harper in no way supports Carney. The decision to disclose this piece of information right now, though, Ian's pretty interesting because the Conservatives have been obviously focusing their attacks on trying to discredit Carney, including the work he did with the Harper government during the economic crisis in 2008. So this throws a bit of a wrench, certainly, into some of that criticism.
Yeah, that is really interesting. This weekend, we saw Poilievre pivoting on his message.
Yeah, the Conservatives are trying to talk more about what's worrying Canadians right now, the tariffs, Donald Trump. So you heard from Pierre Poilievre on Saturday things like, we will bear any burden and pay any price to protect Canadian sovereignty. But we also heard Poilievre doubling down on the need to axe the consumer carbon tax, even though no Liberal leadership candidate supports it going forward. So the opposition leader trying to carve a new path and keep the supporters that he already has happy.
Rosemary Barton in Ottawa, thank you.
Thanks.